Today's second segment introduces us to Dr. Mirta Martin, the new president of Ferrum College. Hi, Dr. Martin. Thanks so much for being on our show today.
Well, thank you so very much for having me.
We're very excited to talk about all things higher education with you today. First of all, congratulations. We're so happy to have you in our region, leading the way in higher education, of course. And we were chatting just before we got started. You're not actually from here, but you've lived in Virginia for a long time.
Absolutely. Virginia's home. And I am so very grateful to come home to Virginia. My husband and I met at Duke and freshman week, actually. And we started dating by Christmas. And 4 years later, a week after we graduated, we were married.
Classic story.
Yep. And we moved to Virginia. We moved to Richmond. He's from Richmond.
Wonderful.
And I have been here since. So Richmond is our home. This is where our children were born. They still live here.
Mm-hmm.
I left about 10 years ago for my first presidency. Mm-hmm. And he stayed behind. Mm-hmm. And so from there, I went to the second, and then this is my third presidency. And I'm so blessed and so grateful to be able to come back home. Mm-hmm. This is and has always been home. As I said, my husband never left. He was running a third-generation family business.
Wow.
And as you can imagine, the every 3 or 4 weekend marriage got real old after a decade.
Yeah.
But also, it's just, there's a beauty about Virginia. There's a beauty about the Blue Ridge Mountains. There's a beauty about the beach. You know, there's no state, really, that has everything.
I agree.
Except for Virginia.
Yes.
And it does. So, you know, throughout my life here in Virginia, I've always known of Ferrum College. Mm-hmm. It is. And when I received the phone call to come home, I said to the boy, well, I'm honored. I said to my husband, we need to go there. I need to feel that I'm being called there. Mm-hmm. You know, I have a different story. I'm an immigrant to this country. I left Cuba, escaping the communist regime with my grandmother and my sister when I was 6. Wow. My sister was 5. Wow. And we were shipped via Spain, where a convent where nuns took us in, thinking that the family would follow in a week, 2 weeks, a couple months. And regrettably, 8 years later, I was still terrorizing those nuns.
Wow.
And so the American embassy told my grandmother that perhaps if we came to the States as American citizens, as minors, we might be able to get our family out. So on another leap of faith, my grandmother brought us to this country. Like many immigrants and certainly many, many, many American families today, my grandmother worked 2 full-time jobs. Like many of the students at Ferrum College, I went to high school while working a full-time job. Mm-hmm. Then on Sundays, we'd get up, go to church, and we'd go to clean homes. And it was the money from cleaning those homes that put food on our table. But as you can imagine, growing up in Spain in a convent, I saw firsthand the calling that those nuns had, the compassion, the humility to serve humanity, their desire to pass it forward and to live a life of consequence. And those were my formative years. So my faith and my family are the most 2 important parts. And for me, I feel very called to Ferrum College. When, as I said earlier, when I received the phone call, I told my husband, well, we need to go there. I need to feel that I belong. And so we were coming down 40, and I saw the church and the steeple and the cross, and it was though my heart just jumped out of my chest. And then I turned right into the college, and I looked at my husband, and he looked at me, and I didn't say a word, and he said, "You're home, aren't you?" And I said, "Mm-hmm."
Ugh, that almost gives me chills just to think about you find this absolute purpose.
But for me, coming home to Ferrum College is a calling. It's not about a position. It's not about a title. You know, I've hit the ground running, recruiting, to tell the story of Ferrum College, of all that is great and wonderful about this magical place that is a hidden jewel. And I want it to remain a jewel. I just don't want it to be hidden. And I've even gone on to churches, and if they give me 5 minutes, I take it, 10, 15, or the entire time. And so when I preach and I have to provide a scripture, the scripture that I provide is on the book of Esther, chapter 4. As you may know or recall, Esther was an immigrant in a foreign land with no parents and little family. And had it not been for her cousin Mordecai, who was her mentor, and for listening to God's direction, she would not have ascended to become Queen Esther and save the Jewish people. And so part of that scripture said that she was placed there for such a time as this. And so I can identify so much with her. As I said, I was an orphan with no parents and little family, just my grandmother in a foreign land. And had not been for a teacher who took me under her wing, a teacher who taught me how to apply to college, how to discern what I wanted to be, a teacher who wrote the check that I attached to my application to Duke University, you and I would not be speaking today. So I feel very much called to Ferrum College for such a time as this, to tell the world of the magical place that lies amidst 800 acres of the Blue Ridge Mountains with a lake, the only lake of a college in Virginia. We have it that's stocked with trout, with faculty who are second to none, who want to inculcate their love, their passion, their wisdom for their discipline on the next generation of leaders, who have staff who come to work every day trying to figure out how to help our students. That's what I'm here to do, to tell the world about the magical place, about the superb second-to-none education that Ferrum College provides, so that students who are seeking that type of education, students who want to make a difference in the world, students who want to have an education laden with industry-ready skills that you need, that others in industry need, are able to come home and make Ferrum College their destination of choice.
Well, I'm about ready to go sign up to be a freshman
Come
again.
on over. Come over.
And we were talking about, you've really sort of, knocked it out of the park on what makes Ferrum so unique and so beautiful. I can see the picture painted in my head as you're describing it. I was sort of curious what you feel are other wonderful, great strengths from Ferrum.
Well, we are a boutique school. And what that means is we are a small, hands-on institution that delivers incredible education that is filled with industry-ready skills in a very familiar setting. So our classes are 10 to 12. Mm-hmm. We can teach a lot of things to students that a class that's 50, 100, 200, 300 can teach. And so our faculty, in addition to teaching their discipline, the pedagogy, also teach them industry skills. And so we are coming out this fall with industry badges. And so, you may think, well, I took a management class. Mm-hmm. And, well, as an employee, you may say, well, that person may have been taught something about how to lead people, perhaps how to create some budgets, perhaps how to do projections. What you don't know is that student may also be taught and may come out of that class with an Office 365 certification or a Cisco certification or a cybersecurity certification. Or if you're taking an agricultural course, perhaps they come out ready to sit for an OSHA certification.
Wow, just ready right out of the gate to start.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Our ceramics course, you can come out with a welding certificate. And so because of our size, we're able to go beyond, to listen to what industry needs, what you're saying, that I need this, and this. And rather than sending you an individual that you have to train, we provide that hands-on experience.
Wow, really helping the business community that way.
Yes, we are, but we're also listening. I think that's something that needs to be done. It's not just hearing what you said, but it's listening. What we want to do is to be able to put out into the world individuals who have the education, who have the skills, to be able to make a ready impact, to be able to become part of the economic engine of the region, of the state, of the country, because that's what's needed today. And in a time when individuals are questioning the value of a 4-year degree, Here comes Ferrum College saying, this is why you need to come to Ferrum College to obtain that degree, because we're going to teach you how to do what you want. We're going to create individuals and educate individuals who can articulate their thoughts, who can analyze and synthesize. We're going to also provide you with individuals who have the skill set that you need so that you can on-ramp. You know, as an employer, that the most difficult and the most expensive part of any employee is their on-ramping.
Sure, yeah.
Is their training. We're going to provide it for you. And of course, it's not just in the classroom. We are blessed with having a cadre of employers, and we solicit all the time more employers who are willing to open the doors to our students, to provide them that real-life experience, to provide them that internship, because it's a win-win for everyone. In that intern, you may find that very special student. And that's something that we're very proud of, the fact that our students have careers, have access to law school or medical school or veterinary school or other types of graduate school right off the bat, because they're that highly sought after.
That is amazing. Gosh, creating young student citizen leaders from the get-go. Love that. So tell me about Panther Promise is something that I stumbled upon when I was researching. And so I'm curious about what that is and how it's impacting your students.
Oh, it's a wonderful, Ferrum College was founded 110 years ago by visionary women, our founding mothers. Now, you think about it. How often do you hear about founding mothers or foremothers? Forefathers, yes. Founding fathers, yes. But foremothers? Well, Ferrum College was created by a forward-thinking, visionary group of women who believed that there was a need for a college of opportunity in this region. And those women, back then, tuition was $150 a year.
Wow.
And if you read the founding documents, those women, there's excerpts that say, if you can afford to come to Ferrum College, don't come. Leave the space for somebody who cannot. And so, proudly affirming our values as the College of Opportunity in Virginia, Ferrum College, about 2 months ago, affirm those roots and those values by launching our Panther Promise, which affords free tuition for qualifying Virginia students.
Wow.
Now, we certainly want we want everyone to come to Ferrum College, but we also want for that individual who has ability, intellect, who has drive, who has persistence, whose family have sacrificed, but yet they don't feel they can go to college. I was one of those students.
I was just about to say, it mirrors a story.
I was one of those students. We want them to know that Ferrum College's doors are open for them, are welcoming them, and that we're there to say, welcome home, because that is our mission.
And I was curious about Ferrum and the opportunities there for graduate degrees.
Well, we have several opportunities. We're developing more as the time goes, but right now we have a master's in psychology. We have a master's in athletic coaching, which is the only one in the state. And for all those assistant coaches and coaches of high schools, et cetera, this provides them an incredible opportunity to be able to know the ways of the sport and be able to move up. I was talking to somebody yesterday, as a matter of fact, in a Zoom meeting that had started as a high school coach, or actually assistant coach, and actually got that master's degree, and now he's actually at the NFL.
Wow.
So it does open.
That's so cool.
And it's a wonderful opportunity that we provide. And of course, we have the master's in education. So as you know, the Commonwealth of Virginia, when you get your teacher's degree, they also require a master's to go out into the classroom. And so for those students that come to Ferrum College, then they can have a 5-year master's through the MED. And that cuts about 6 months if you think about the fact that it is a continuous process. And so the next generation, the next iteration of masters, what we're looking to do is to listen again to our industry partners and say, what is it that you need next? that is not being done. What I don't want to do is to cannibalize the market. You know, it doesn't. I like to be first to market.
Sure.
I started my career in the banking industry.
I love that mindset, by the way.
At a time of great change, not unlike the change that we're seeing today in higher ed. It was a time of deregulation. And so we had to create differentiation strategies. We had to create competitive strategies to be able to differentiate yourself. And that's what higher ed needs to do today. So I'm people call me a two-headed unicorn because I come from
extra
industry.
Impossibly special.
Because I come from industry. You know, I have an MBA with a concentration in finance. My PhD is in business strategy. And so I look at the world from the lens of industry. How do we create a competitive advantage so that we can create an on-ramp to education, thereby creating external sources of income for our operation and budget so that we can reinvest it back into our students, into our faculty, into our staff, into our communities. And so, you know, that has to be focusing, and part of that has to be, how do we create a competitive advantage? How are we first to market? How do we provide you, our employers, our partners in industry, that skill for that job that does not yet exist? Because if you think about it, the freshman class that starts this August is going to be graduating from 4 years from now into a world that hardly resembles the world of today.
Oh, that's kind of a scary thought just in general. But
artificial intelligence is driving.
Well,
sure. And so what we want to do for those students, and why we are always listening to industry and we're always talking to industry, is we want to make sure that 4 years from now, our graduate is able to meet your needs.
So you're really anticipating the market in the future. I mean, you're kind of living in the future, sort of like I do with deadlines. But I mean, you're really thinking about down the road. You're probably even further in the future than I am now. So.
Well, no. Because listen, you are living your business. And so you have your finger on the pulse of how your business is moving. Okay. So if you say to me, in the future, within 2 years, I know that our industry is going to change to do ABC, then I can adapt to that, and I can teach my student that ABC so that then 2 years from there, when they graduate, you're going to be able to say, aha, I can go to Ferrum College because they're ready for that future, where somebody else who continues to sit in the moment will not be able to see that. So for me is talking to industry, to be able to understand the skills for the careers of the futures, for the jobs that do not yet exist, so that we at Ferrum College can create a competitive advantage for you and for our students.
Dr. Martin, president and part fortune teller, I think. Honestly, or wizard.
No.
That's incredible.
You're the fortune teller because you're the one who's telling me what's going to come down the future. And our incredible faculty are the ones who are massaging it. So
I mean, that's amazing,
to
truly, to think about, especially everything is changing rapidly, right?
Yes.
We're sort of in this period of technology it's just constantly evolutionary. And to have, college students who would be ready upon graduation and, like you said, not have to do the month-long of onboarding. I mean, that's pretty incredible.
And it has to be,
Right.
We have to tell parents, we have to tell students that there is a value in higher ed at a time when people are questioning what is the value, at a time when the cost of higher ed continues to rise. Here comes Ferrum College to save the day.
And their Panther Promise. I love that so much. So actually, to switch gears just a hair, because when I think of Ferrum, I think of one particular event, an annual event in particular that is much beloved in the area, the Folklife Festival.
Yes.
So tell us about how that's connected to the college, because I'm curious if a lot of listeners realize that.
Well, the Blue Ridge Institute and Museum is part of the college. It's not a standalone organization. It's actually no different than, it's a division of the college. And we are so proud because it really makes us distinctive.
It's a really huge event.
It is.
It's beautiful.
But it's beyond the event. The Institute and Museum itself, they have some of the largest collections, whether it's music, whether it's the way that things used to be done in the 1900s. It is a museum, but it is a living museum. And so what we've done is we've integrated the history of that museum with even our classes. Because, I mean, think about it. Shouldn't somebody studying history go right down the hill to see what history looked like? Or somebody in our music department should go down there. Or certainly our agriculture students should be down there. And yes, you know, we still do have a farm, and still a working farm, where we teach students how to grow vegetables and through hydroponics, or we teach them how to take care of animals, so that it's not just mom and pop's farm, but it's a business, and we've got to protect our farmers so that they can retain their farms and they run them as a business. But you're right, once a year, we bring in about 18,000 people to campus.
1,000, by the way, 1,000.
1,000, yes, with zeros behind. After the comma, 3 zeros, to campus, to showcase, to go back in time. This year's going to be so very special because this year we celebrate our 50th anniversary.
Wow, congratulations.
And we're very, very, very proud. So we invite you on the 4th weekend of October, which is October the 26th, to come to Ferrum College to be part of the 50th anniversary of the Folklife Festival and the Blue Ridge Institute and Museum.
It's always a wonderful event, but with the 50th, I think that'll be even more special.
Yes, and we'll have tons of food so that you can bring your children with you.
Yeah.
You can enjoy the lake. You can walk around the lake. You can walk through campus. You know, I really believe, and I've been to probably just about every college in Virginia and in other states as well. I believe Ferrum College has the most beautiful campus of any school. You know, you just... And especially in the fall, when you have...
It can't be beat.
It can't. 800 acres of the Blue Ridge Mountains, all that color, that lake, the quad that is filled with these humongous, 30, 40-year-old trees that are full with leaves, and the grass is green. And we have 11 of our buildings are on the National Registry.
Wow.
So it really is a walk back in time. But yet it's a school that is ever present in the future.
So in thinking about the future of Ferrum, because obviously we've talked about you sort of tell the future a little bit, are there any exciting things on the horizon for the college? It sounds like there are.
There's lots of exciting opportunities for the college. We are going to be expanding our graduate programs. We're going to be expanding our programs to industry. We're going to be creating bridges between vocational schools and Ferrum College. We are partnering with our friends in the community college program, community colleges, to create an on-ramp for a 4-year degree through program-to-program articulation agreements. Those are near and dear to my heart because, oftentimes individuals go to community colleges because they cannot leave their homes. But then they're ready to go on to a 4-year institution, and the 4-year institution doesn't accept all of those colleges. That's a waste of time. That's a waste of money. And so I'm very sensitive to that. So we're creating program-to-program articulation agreements so that if you fulfill this pathway, then 100% of those, and you're awarded a degree, then 100% of those courses will transfer
that's so
to
important.
Ferrum College.
That's so important.
And that's our Ferrum Promise. And so if you do that and you follow the pathway, then we guarantee that you'll graduate, and you go full-time, obviously. We guarantee that you'll graduate in 2 years. And if you don't, it's on us.
Wow.
We'll pay for you.
Wow.
That's our commitment to pass it forward. So we're partnering with that. We are nestled, as I keep repeating, in a unique part of the region of the state. It is safe. It was filled with individuals who consider themselves family, who embrace our students, whether they come from here or whether they come from afar. And so we're also looking to perhaps open our college to some international students to be able to bring in. I hope that our students never leave the state. But the reality is that whether or not they leave the state, whether they're sitting in that chair or not, they're going to be doing business in a global marketplace. And to be able to be competitive in a global marketplace, you need to understand the cultures, the industry cultures, the business culture of so many other countries. And it's very difficult to hate somebody that you know. right?
Yes.
And it's very difficult not to understand a culture with whom you have had a relationship. So expanding our offerings to the international scene, where we can afford those students a Ferrum College education in a safe environment, but yet in a region of the world that it really demonstrates the essence of what America is. As foreign students and as international students, what people want to do is they want to, yes, come and study abroad, because an American degree is still the highest sought after degree in the world. But they also want to experience the majesty of this country. They want to understand why it is that we are the beacon for liberty, what makes us unique. And if you think about it, Ferrum College is 3 hours from Richmond, is 3 hours from Washington, D.C., is 4 hours from New York. We are amidst some of the most historic parts of the country that you can ever see. And we can afford that to these students and to their parents when they let them go for so many miles. We have students from California who had never been in this neck of the woods, had never been to Washington, D.C., something that you and I take for granted.
Right.
This is such a destination. So our vision, our hope is, our moral compass is that Ferrum College will become a destination of choice because of our people of excellence and our programs of distinction.
Beautifully said. I can't say it any other way. That's wonderful. And we're talking to listeners of all kinds. So we're talking to a lot of the students. As far as the parents listening today, what would you like to share with them specifically as to why they should help their child choose Ferrum?
Well, I live on campus. I live right on the quad, not on the outskirts, not on the proper. I live right on campus next to the admission house.
In the thick of things.
And I wouldn't have it any other way. I have a sign, and the students know it. If I am home, the light on the porch is on. And that is an invitation for the students to come and tell me what I don't want to hear. Hey, I need to know. To come just give me a hug, to tell me how they did on that exam that they were fretting about, or just to talk. Every student on our campus and every parent has my business card. My business card has my personal cell, and it has my personal email, Mirta Martin at ferrum.edu, not president at.
Wow.
And that's because as a mother, I need parents to know that they have someone who's going to be there when something happens, because things don't happen between 9 and 5. Mm-hmm. They happen at 3 a.m. in the morning. And that parent needs to know that somebody is there that's going to get to their child, because I don't care whether they're 22 years old, they're going to be their child right. in less than 5 minutes. And so I say to the parents, when you come to Ferrum College and you drop off your child, they become my child. And then I say to the kids, and then I become your worst nightmare.
I don't think there's a lot of college presidents who would, have that personal sentiment like that.
To me, that's very, very, very personal. It's really important to me. It just, those kids, because I was separated at an early age from my parents, I value so much family. And these parents afford me the privilege to share their most precious possessions with me for 4 or 5 years of their lives. And so I appreciate that. And these students afford me the honor to be part of their lives, because it is a choice. And so I want to be there for them. And it doesn't have to be something terrible, but they need to know that there's somebody there that really cares about them. I had a situation on a Sunday morning where a student who had broken her foot called me, and she said, the elevator is down, and I'm on the 3rd floor, and I can bump down, but it's going to be difficult for me to bump up. And I said, absolutely not. I said, just sit tight. And I called the staff, and they came in, and the elevator was fixed within half an hour, 45 minutes. As a mother of a child that is injured, I don't want my daughter or son bumping down the stairs and having the likelihood of perhaps re-injuring themselves. I think it's also, though, a tribute to our staff who took time on a Sunday. Right away to take care of that child. So for a parent, they need to know that there's somebody there who is looking after their child as though they were there. And it's not just me. Our faculty and our staff do the same thing. For the students, they need to know that. And what I say to them is, I'm not requesting that you call me. It is an expectation that you call me, because I can resolve something that you think that you don't have to wait until Monday to have it resolved. That's very important to me. If we are saying we are a college where we are a family, then we need to put our money where our mouth is. And our actions have to reflect the words. I live my values. They're not words on a page. And when I say we're family, when I say we're home, this is home, when I say welcome home, for me, that's how I live my life.
That's incredibly powerful. Thank you. Gosh.
Thank you.
One more question for you, only because I want to know what you're doing in your downtime. I know that you spend 99% of your time on campus, but what are you and your family doing in your limited free time? What do you love to do? Or, where are you eating? Where are you going? Where are you playing?
Well, very candidly, these days are long days.
Sure.
And because we're trying to spread the word of that we are alive and well and open for business, and all that is great and good about Ferrum College. And I will confess, they're 16, 18-hour days, sometimes all-nighters. My downtime is spending time with my students. I really enjoy just being around them. I enjoy cheering them at those sports events. I enjoy cheering them and applauding for them at their music recitals or at their incredible theatrical performances. We now have dinner in a theater, and the community comes in. And so we have the little kids working alongside with community members, working alongside with our own theater students, working alongside with our choirs who are going out into the community and singing. We have so much that is going on, and we have those students that come back from experiential opportunities that they are provided, and talk about what happened. We have a climate discrimination class, and so the faculty took her 12 students to a miserable excuse of a place that no one, certainly none of us, would ever want to go to, the beaches of Costa Rica. Yeah, where they spent 3 weeks. Imagine that.
Tragedy,
just awful place. Well, they went there to study the impact of climate change on sea turtles. And so they've been studying longitudinally how many eggs the turtles lay and the size of the hatchings.
This is like a dream for so many people, by the way. They just want to go to the beach and watch this. Oh my gosh.
And so this is our environmental sciences, right? Part of that course, that major. And so obviously they're seeing how many legs were like. Well, as you can imagine, they're less. And the sea turtlings, their hatchings are smaller. Well, why is that important? Well, because if they're smaller, they're more likely to be picked up by predators. If that's the case, they're less likely to get to the ocean. If it's less likely to get to the ocean, it's more likely that they become extinct. You can teach that in a classroom. It's quite different when you see it.
In your hands, tangible.
Tangible. And I was telling the faculty I could never go because they cannot touch the ecosystem.
Right.
And here comes the seagulls picking up these beautiful little itty bitty things, and I'm going, I would be the first one going, hey,
Me too.
You get off.
I'm not allowed to do that.
And you're not allowed to do it. But it's very impactful for a student to be able to do that. And that's the beauty of a Ferrum College education. It's not just what we're teaching in the classroom, it's how you're experiencing it in real life. And so, that's really what differentiates us. That's really who Ferrum College is, and that's why I'm there, and that's why students come, and that's why alumni return, and that's why parents choose to entrust us with their children.
My mom's ready for me to go tomorrow, I think, with that powerful line. Gosh. Thank you so much for being on the show today. We really appreciate it. Again, that was Ferrum College President Dr. Martin. We appreciate your time and sharing more about Ferrum College, the exciting things happening, not just for students and faculty, but for the region as a whole, for our economic industry. Thank you.
Absolutely. Come on over and so that I can say welcome home to Ferrum
Absolutely.
College.
You'll see me on campus in the fall with the beautiful colors for
God
sure.
bless.
And thank you so much for being on the show with us today. When it comes to our region's education options, we are so incredibly lucky to have talented teachers, leaders, and more. Don't forget to learn more about the incredible education opportunities and more found in our latest issue, and you can always read more at theroanoker.com.